and welcome to the Outreach Project, our Spotlight Series, Episode 1. This is something new to the show. We've been talking about it for weeks. We finally got it kicked off, and I couldn't be happier. I've got my co-host Josh Melching with me, as always, and we are going to kick this Spotlight Series off with someone who obviously you know, Dustin. So I'm going to kick it to you. And I just want you to tell everyone before we get into it how you know Dustin and what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, with our Spotlight series, these are some raw conversations. These are heavy hitting stories, so they can be a little uncomfortable for people, just an FYI. But yeah, Dustin Brister is our first guest. And I met Dustin through an actual organization, through Hometown Hero Outdoors out at Harris Ranch, and got to hear his amazing story and what he's been through, who he is. We're friends now. We've been friends for a couple of years now, but amazing human being. The trials and tribulations that he's been through, what he's grown into, entrepreneur, in a great space, doing great things, helping other people, helping change other people's lives, and even plans to do even bigger things in the future. So it's all goodness.
Yeah, we couldn't be more excited to kick this off to everyone out there who's watching. We really appreciate the support that we've gotten up to this point, and we hope that everyone kind of buys into this. This is more of a, we want to have more raw conversations, not really focused on the business side of nonprofits and things like that. So this one in particular may hit people in one way, and the very next episode, we may be laughing and having a good time. Not that we didn't, but yeah, for everyone out there who's watching, we're going to go ahead and kick it off with our Spotlight Episode 1. I'm super pumped up about it, Josh.
Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Outreach Project podcast. We are kicking off the first episode of the Spotlight series. Have the packed studio tonight. I got my co-host Hodge, and I got Dustin Brister in the studio with us. So, Hodge, what you think?
Well, dude, I've got good feedback from all the episodes that we're doing with the nonprofits. I got feedback today. Somebody said that in their life, last year when we kicked this off, it was Creed, and then right below Creed was the Outreach Project. So I'm feeling pretty good. Some has even quantified us as being the Bo and Luke Duke of podcasting. So I'm pretty pumped up to have Dustin in, and we kicked this Spotlight series off.
Yeah, man. Without further ado, Dustin, if you want to kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll start throwing, we'll throw some darts at you.
Named Dustin Brister. I did 4 years in the Navy. Right now, I'm a taxidermist at Animal Art Taxidermy in Austin, Texas. Me and my business partner own that together. I do taxidermy work full time. I'm actually doing one of Josh's animals. A couple other people that I've had on the podcast, I do their animals, like Leo and Sean from Hometown Heroes. I do all their taxidermy work. So kind of got into that back in 2021 after I used my GI Bill to go to school. It kind of made fun of from some of the old heads in the taxidermy world, because they're like, "Oh, you went to school?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I had my GI Bill. It's either that or I was going to use it, or, lose it. So I might as well use it." And so I used it a little bit there. And I would like to honestly see more veterans use their GI Bill to do taxidermy work, because I would love to, hire military people. I guess that's about everything for now.
Well, we'll kind of go way back, man. I kind of want to get a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, kind of how you came to be who you are. So kind of just start with where you're from, and how did you kind of transition into going to the military?
Originally I'm from Lexington, Texas, so a little bitty small town outside of Austin, in between Austin and College Station. Literally, it's probably directly in the middle. It's an hour from Austin, an hour from College Station. So, of course, my entire family's, half Longhorns, A&M.
Well, which one are you, Dustin? That's the real question.
I'm a diehard Longhorn fan, mainly because my grandfather was, and he retired from the power plant in UT. So I'm definitely Longhorn through and through. It was actually the only thing I asked from my grandparents once my grandpa passed. He had a set of Longhorns in his house, and I asked for those since I was knee high to a grasshopper, and grandma gave them to me a couple weeks after he passed. So she kind of, with everything that conspired after his passing and my little brother's passing, she knew I wouldn't probably ever see those if I didn't take those while she was alive. And so she actually let those go. I was very surprised by that. But then when I was 15, I moved to Palestine, Texas, finished out my high school career up there, played all the sports like most people, football, baseball, track. I didn't much do basketball, just not really vertically, gifted there. So
Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead, laugh.
I didn't say anything, dude.
and I'm kind of a little guy. I'm 5'9", so I wasn't playing basketball. But after that, it was either the oil field or the military. So I chose the one thing I've always kind of wanted to do, which was the military. I always wanted to be, law enforcement or military. So I went military. Was gonna do my 20 years, but the ex-wife had a different plan. So I decided she sacrificed 4 years of her life. And once it was my time to give it up, I sacrificed to move back to Texas for her. And well, that didn't work out in my favor, but t- everything has a reason.
So you went straight out of high school, straight in the military?
Yeah, I literally within 30 days of graduating high school, I went to boot camp.
What'd you do in the Navy?
I was an EN, so an engineman, basically a mechanic. Worked on V16 cat generators, and then I actually went to school to be an AC technician. So I learned that side of it. And Texas is just a little too hot for me to be in an attic, so I didn't do that when I got out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, wonder why. I was in my head. I was wondering why you didn't do that coming out of the Navy. Like that's a pretty good job too. HVAC's no joke.
Yeah, for sure. It's good job. People always need AC techs in Texas, but
Mm-hmm.
I want it I wanted to be a mechanic. So I went the 18-wheeler route, and that's what I did after I got out, was 18-wheeler mechanic.
So you did that for how long? I guess I'm trying to see what's the timeline until you became a taxidermist doing what you're doing now.
Um I went in the military 2010, got out 2014, and then from 14 to 2021 I was a diesel mechanic and did that for what, almost 10 years. So
Mm, heck yeah. And then we met. What year did we meet? I think 20.
it was 2022, 2023, somewhere around there.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
kind of met. We met in a
did
roundabout
you
way.
have a COVID mask on? Is that he probably looked better with that COVID mask on, didn't he?
No, but the first time I
Hodges
did
got
meet him,
jokes today
he never took his sunglasses off the first time I met him.
Of course, dude. He's a cool guy. That's what he does.
because I had a black eye. No, I'm just kidding. No, we met at, I think, kind of in a roundabout way. You saw my flags before we actually met. And then I showed up to the Total Archery Challenge, and I had brought a flag, and that I was donating to the Warrior Rising guys. And I got up to the booth, and they were like, "Yeah, somebody was up here talking about you." And I was like, "From where?" I was like, who even knows me here? And they're like, "Yeah, one of the archery country guys." And I was like, "Huh, I don't even know who that would be." Then I walked down there, and I was like, and I was just kind of talking for a second to the guys that were sitting there, and you weren't there at the time.
Hmm.
And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll catch him later. And then come to find out, it was through the Veterans Creed Outdoors guys. And you had seen my flags because Marty had gotten a few of my flags through the organization. But yeah, it was really cool to just kind of connect that way. And then we ended up going on a hunt together. So,
Yes, sir. I think the first time I technically met you was out the Harris Ranch.
well, yeah, that was before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
you're
it
right.
was right
You're right.
before TAC. I kind of knew of you because of Marty and the flags and everything, but then I met you out there, and I never put two and two together until TAC, which I don't know
Man,
why. But
life's been
Yeah.
on a slippery slope ever since you met this guy, huh? And mine too.
Yeah.
Every day.
Just
I just like, man.
downhill ever since. Dude.
Hey, Dustin, can I ask a question? When you chose the profession of taxidermy, like what drew you to that, and what is the schooling like? You said you used your GI Bill and stuff like that. So, what drew you to it, and like how long did it go?
so the schooling was out in Snyder, Texas. It was like an 8-week course. You get to come home on the weekends or hang out there. I I hung out there because my wife could come visit. And at the time, we didn't have custody of my kids anyways. So she was, free to travel whenever she wanted. I actually, since I got my BAH and everything, I kind of went a little bougie and I got a house on the lake out there. And so I had like literally the backyard was the actual lake of Lake Snyder. It was a gorgeous view. Loved it out there. So she would just come out there and hang out so I didn't have to come back. Um, the main reason why I went taxidermy was because I knew I wanted to do something with my hands. I didn't exactly know what. I've always, been good at building things, taking things apart. And so as a kid, I was kind of enthused by it, but I never tried my hand at it or anything. And prior to my little brother passing away, we had talked about, hey, Mr. Feller, the local taxidermist there in Lexington, was getting ready to retire. And it just happened to be that once all that happened, I was like, look, man, I'm kind of like what he was. He was tired of being a number. So I was tired of being someone's number. And it was, I guess, in a way, a little bit of both of our dreams. And so once all that happened, I decided, well, I'm gonna go ahead and just do this. And so I quit my job that week, literally, and applied and got accepted and everything, and off to school I went.
Nice. So when you look back at this and you're talking about using the GI Bill, and is that one of the things that when you were younger you were talking about seeing this profession? Was it something that it was always like in the back pocket from when you were younger, like I'm going to do this type of thing, or did it just the itch come back when you were driving or working on the 18 wheelers?
I knew I always had an itch to be, I guess, my own boss, and so I knew I wanted
There
to
we
do
go.
something like that. I didn't know what it was. I was kind of interested in taxidermy work. I just never tried it out. So if I would have tried it out as a kid, I probably would have never went to the military. To be real honest, I would have just stuck with that. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't. Um,
I
Have
but
think
you
I think a lot of people on the other side of the camera, we're highlighting people who's doing really really great and successful things. This is just another one of those things where you're talking about like I chose to do this with my GI Bill, and now like I am successful. I honestly I don't know like the ins and outs of your business. We'll get to that, but that's what we're trying to highlight, and that's pretty cool, man. That you've had that kind of like vision of yourself, and then you're like, I'm tired of being a number, and you popped into that little ecosystem, and now you've kind of blossomed into the taxidermist that you are.
yes, sir. I kind of feel like I didn't have a whole lot of choice as far as being the number, but we'll get into that a little later.
did you always hunt and stuff growing up, or did that
Uh,
come later?
I always rifle hunted. I never bow hunted until 2021. Always hunted. Me and my older brother, we literally would go squirrel hunting almost every single day. Back then, they didn't have a squirrel season. I don't know if they do now, but we didn't have one for us. And so we would always joke that there was no squirrels in 3 counties because we would just absolutely murk some squirrels. It was
Just
unsafe to be a squirrel anywhere near us.
just deleting squirrels out of trees. Man, we would wait
Yeah.
until the first frost. My dad always told me when I was young, I'd be like 7 or 8, and I'd carry my little 410 around, and he'd be like, "Hey, after the first frost, that's when the wolves fall off of them." And I was like, "Man, okay." And I'd go out there, and I mean, for people who have never been squirrel hunting, I don't know if you did this, Dustin, but I mean, I'd get them where they slept. I mean,
Yeah.
I was not playing fair. I would go up to the nest and just basically murk them right when they're sleeping. It
Yes,
was
sir.
a
You
it
said I'm
was
cruel.
Oh no, it's delicious. Those little boogers are good to eat, man.
They are. They're very. We had a little old lady that lived down the road from us, and we would kill all of them and bring them to her, and she would skin them out and everything for us, and she'd cook them all up for us. We never cooked them. She did everything.
Dude, I
And
passed 8th grade science. I had this teacher named Mr. Mason. I don't know if he's alive. If you're watching, uh, what's up? But I passed his class by skinning out a whole mess of squirrels, and I took them to him. And man, he tore those things up. And I passed that class with flying colors, dude.
That explains a lot. That does
That
explain a lot,
Mississippi
though.
education, dude. That's
You've been passing off squirrels your whole life to passes.
anyone out there. I got squirrels, man.
Oh
that's
man.
awesome.
Um, what about and growing up, siblings? I know you've mentioned your brother. How you come from a big family, small family?
That's kind of a small family. It's just my two brothers. So my oldest brother is BJ, and then my youngest brother is Zachary. And then we kind of have our own adopted families. So all three of us boys were kicked out at one point in time around the age 15, 16 years old. So my older brother, he left and went to his adopted family. And then I kind of have my adopted family. So I have adopted brother and adopted sister. And then of course, adopted mom and dad.
Okay. And you're going on about squirrels and stuff in Hodge. If you don't know, Dustin is like a sniper with a bow, just so you know.
Oh,
Like
you picked it up in 2021, you said? And
he's
you're already a sniper with that stuff?
yeah,
I'm pretty decent.
he's pretty good. He was teaching me when we went hunting. I brought both.
Yeah.
I had every intention. We went bear hunting in Idaho, and I had every intention of using my bow. And I carried both for a while, and then once we started going up mountains, I was like, "This is rifle time, baby. I'm not smashing my bow that I just got." But he actually helped me when I drove up to Austin, and he was taking me under his wing and teaching me, and we went out shooting on property out there too. So, yeah, thank you for that too. Help me get all dialed in.
No, I didn't get a chance to do I taught myself. Well, I read a magazine, like a deer hunting magazine, and I started like getting this is bow hunting, and I ordered just in the blind. I knew how to do like my draw length and all that stuff because I watched some videos on it, and I ordered a PSE, and I learned how to shoot with that thing, and then I started learning about brace height and stuff like that, and how forgiving some of the bows were axle to axle. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if I can pull it back right now, but I've had my neck fused. But the left side, I'm right-handed, but I'm left-eye dominant. So I got a Hoyt Pro Defiant. I don't know if you're a Hoyt guy, but I'm a Hoyt guy.
I am.
Yeah, so I love my Hoyt, and man, I can't knock gnats off a dog's dick with that thing by any means. I mean, I could paper plate it at about 50, 60, and if I can't get it done with that, I'm just not going to go hunting with you. I'll just sit back in there. I'll shoot them squirrels.
Yeah, no, my first bow
These
that I
references.
bought was a Hoyt RX7 carbon. I love that bow. And then I recently actually got a PSE Sicario, and
Okay.
that thing is cooking. Like I'm
Yep.
doing 320 feet per second now with that one.
Yeah, I don't know where PSE they came out of the woodwork because it was they're still a good tier, and they just went from like, you know, PSE like kind of I wouldn't say mid tier, but Matthews and Hoyt was just throwing campaign left and right to get you to buy their bow. But PSE was like, you know what? If you ain't first, you're last. So they just went hard. They just went nasty speed, and
Yes,
I
sir.
was like, holy crap! I've shot Matthews. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is about the Matthews. The solo cam can't shoot it. I shot the PSE 3G Stinger. That was like the entry level bow. But my first Hoyt, man, I love it. If I could get my hands back on another one, it was the Hoyt Charger, and it was like one of those like kind of grow with me bows,
Yes, sir.
entry levels. And man, everything I shot with that thing was a solid pass through. Everything. I was like, man, I love this bow. But I haven't got a chance to take anything down with the Pro Defiant yet. My wife bought it for me for graduating a course, and I was like, man, I'm ready. And then I just hit all these fucking problems. But hey, if you if you got some spots down there, let me know. We'll go out there. We'll knock a couple squirrels down. You know what I'm saying?
We
Get
can
you
go
a
pig
crossbow.
hunt anytime you want.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
You can always use a crossbow too. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Hey, if
That's
it's
cheap.
between doing it and not doing it,
Yeah.
then it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back 50, 60 pounds on that thing. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
And you brought it up a little bit, Dustin. Tell me a little bit about your brother.
So my little brother Zachary kind of followed me into the military. Didn't have, I guess, as good as an experience as I did in the military. When I was in the Navy in San Diego, my chain of command took great care of me. Literally had a couple incidences where another person got in trouble and tried to throw me under the bus, and my command was like, "Nope, ain't gonna happen. This is our sailor." Kind of piss off type of thing. Well, his command was like complete opposite. They were the bus driver. So seemed like anything and everything that went on in his life, whether it was self brought on or not, they just threw the book at him over there. And he was over in Virginia. Not really sure if that had a whole lot to do with it, but they always told us in the military that the closer you are to the White House, the more stricter they get as far as higher ups and stuff.
I never
So-
thought about it like that. Yeah.
He was, I want to say he was medically discharged from the military for alcohol abuse. He went to rehab while in it, and he prolapsed, I don't know, two or relapsed, sorry, about 2 weeks afterwards, and went to his chief, his E7, and was like, "Hey, chief, I kind of messed up. I had a couple beers last night, and within 3 days, he was kicked out of the military. They didn't, they didn't try to put him in any type of alcohol abuse classes. They didn't try to do anything for the boy, and he got out, and my little brother wasn't out of the military a whole year before he decided to take his own life. One night, him and his wife and his son, his newborn son that was less than 6 months old, came over to our house, and we had steaks and everything, cooked it on the barbecue pit. Of course, at that time I drank beer, so my little brother's like, "Hey man, you care if I drink some beer?" And I'm like, "Well, first of all, you're grown. I'm not going to tell you no. Nothing that says you can't drink beer." And so, of course, he started drinking some beer, and he was, already kind of drinking before this, anyways. And him and his wife kind of got into it after they left because he wanted to, stay and hang out with the boys, type of thing. And of course, the wife wanted to go home. So I was like, "Hey, bub, like, it ain't no big deal. Just go home. Make the wife happy. Let's keep the peace," type of thing. And so they left, and about 10 minutes later, they came back, and he was just in this dark place. And you could tell, like, my little brother's eyes were as blue as the ocean water, super pretty blue eyes, and his eyes at this point weren't blue anymore. They were like a dark black color, and you could just tell he was in a weird spot. And so we kind of start talking and everything, and he goes down that rabbit hole of, "I just think it'd be better if I wasn't here. Everybody else would be happier, and this and that." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, nobody wants you to kill yourself, bro." And it got to the point where in the conversation, I was like, "Look, if you wanna do it, there's only one person in this world that can make you do it or make you not do it, and that's yourself, in my opinion." And I was like, "But if you want to do it," and something I kick myself in the butt every day for, but I actually went and got my own pistol, and I was like, "Look, man, I've heard my little brother say he was suicidal since he was 14, 15 years old. So I was like, look, if you want to do it, you have to make that choice to do it." I said, "But I don't want you to die alone. I would much rather you, quite frankly, do it right here in front of me than do it by yourself out in the middle of a field or, wherever the case may be." And so I gave him a loaded pistol, and at that moment he decided not to do it. And so he was like, "Look, man, I'm just gonna go, and I'll see you tomorrow." All right, cool. Never thought much about it. So he drove away. His wife and son stayed there with me and my wife, and I'm sitting outside, and I get a text message, and it's his suicide letter. And he had drove literally probably 5-10 minutes down the road to where we used to go hunting, and he killed himself in basically my deer hunting spot. Of all places on the whole 200 acres that he could have done it, he had to do it in my spot. And I don't know if that was, him trying to tell me something or what, but uh his biggest thing was, I guess his biggest reasoning of wanting to do it was he felt like he had turned into an alcoholic and couldn't control it anymore. And as kids, all three of us blood brothers made vows to each other that, if we ever became alcoholics, we would stand up and be like, "Hey dude, what are you doing? Pull your crap together." And we never did that. I never told him that he had an issue. He never said anything to me about having an issue. Do I think I had a drinking problem? I like to party. I mean, what can I say? It was the military in me. I wasn't the guy out that was getting hammered drunk, wrecking my car, doing crazy stuff like that. The wildest thing you would probably find me doing is falling asleep in the shower, and that's really serious. Like, I wasn't out fighting people while I was drunk. I was just the life of the party normally. And he was the complete opposite, though. He was that guy that was out doing stupid stuff, driving his truck 110 miles an hour while he was, blacked out drunk, trying to fight people in the bar. So he knew that, like, he had turned into that person we promised not to be. And it's like, bub, you can get out of it. You just need to either ask for help or, you know, pull yourself out of it. Like sometimes you just have to be stronger than what's dragging you down, I guess. And he didn't have that determination in a way. And so I guess that's kind of why he decided to do what he wanted to do there. Um, and after that night, I've never gone back to that place that he killed himself at. Mainly because I was pretty much disowned. My mom and my dad, and then my older brother later on, a couple months later, they all three decided to blame me for, my little brother committing suicide, which I kind of, I always knew my parents were going to do that. I never thought my older brother would. Um, that's mainly because I'm the middle child. I've always been the bad kid. I've always been the kid that's, taking the blame for everything, especially everything in Zachary's life. I remember getting beat one time for him shooting an arrow through my window while I was in the bedroom. I was like, "How is it my fault? You were supposed to be watching him." And I was like, so I already knew that blame was coming. I just never expected it from my older brother ever.
Mm.
And that's kind of why I got into bow hunting too. So after he passed, my sister-in-law gave me his bow to learn how to hunt with it so that I could teach my nephew one day.
What year did this happen?
Um, October 2021.
Mm. Yeah, I could see that could change the trajectory of your adult life real quick.
Yeah.
Um, and we've talked about it a few different times too, and some of the stuff that it's led you to now. Um, and we met initially we did meet at Harris Ranch. And you had brought that up at the end of it. I didn't hear anything about it until actually I saw the video interview after the fact. I wasn't around when you talked about your little brother or anything, but I saw the HHO video after the fact, and man, that's some powerful stuff, man.
I'm glad they
And
edited most of that out because I was crying like a little baby.
yeah, but I mean, like I said, man, there ain't no judgment here. These are real conversations. This is authenticity at its finest. You know what I mean? So it made you who you are today, and I think you're a pretty damn good person myself. So, um, and Hodge and I both have kind of had similar stories of friends that have taken their own lives, and I lost a buddy 2 years ago now that I couldn't pull out of alcoholism, and those people, I know he's your brother, but a lot of times you don't get to see that. People are good at hiding stuff, like
Hmm.
especially alcohol or substance abuse, that type of stuff, man. And I would have never known. I really wouldn't have. But I mean, now kind of looking back on it, um, I know there's a lot of grief, and there was a time period in there I'm sure was absolutely terrible. What do you think helped you kind of get through that at the time? I know you said you got given his bow and stuff. Like, was there something that you kind of leaned into a little bit more, like in life at the time, to kind of get you through it, like going to the gym or anything like that?
The biggest thing that helped me, and it may sound a little cliche or something, but I knew there was a cycle that had to be broken. And I saw, what alcohol had done to my parents, to my little brother. My older brother was either going to fall on the wagon or fall off the wagon. And I knew that the day I buried him was my last day I drank ever. Haven't touched any type of alcohol since. I don't mind people drinking around me, but it's just, that was my choice. And so I decided to break that will. And once I did that, I won't say it got easier, but it definitely allowed my mind not to go down the dark rabbit hole. Cause I feel like if I would have kept drinking, I would have went down that rabbit hole hard and never came back.
Well, especially if something was to take your brother, you look at it and you're like, alcoholism. You said your parents, and then your older brother, then you, it's almost like you could manifest that as like this is our destiny. We're just meant to do this, but you chose to 180 out on that, and you said no, not anymore. Like
Yes.
I've got other things to carry forward. Um, I may have buried him, but I'm gonna make him live on. I'm gonna teach his son how to bow hunt. I'm gonna do other things like that. So I think that's what Josh is talking about is why you were such a good fit for this show is the fact that you are able to do those types of things. You know, it ain't how many times you get knocked down. You know, that's cliche, but it's the how you get back up. And it sounds like you just were flat out just not going to let alcoholism win. It's already won, taking your brother away, and you refuse to let it do it again. So I think it's powerful, dude. I think it's people that are able to do those types of things and stick to it that are probably some of the better, spokespersons for the nonprofits and things like that. Especially the ones that got impacted that me and Josh know. I think it's more powerful than you give it credit for. I know you're just like, I just quit drinking, but it shows somebody else that it is possible. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Well,
Yeah.
I guess my biggest reasoning for that was, at the time my older brother didn't have any kids, so it was my two kids and then my nephew, and I wanted to show them three that just because they had the last name Brister doesn't mean they have to be an alcoholic. And so that was my biggest motivation, truly and honestly, was to just cut it out. And, was it hard? Yeah. Did I lose a bunch of friends? Absolutely. I lost a lot of friends. I mean, probably had 100 of them before I quit drinking. And when I did quit, I have probably 3 or 4 now. So it's like, hey, I found out who my true friends were. I gained a couple friends. My buddy Cam, he was actually my older brother's friend, and kind of after my little brother's passing and whatnot, he kind of stepped away. But then me and him kind of connected. We never connected before because I drank and he didn't, and so we just never met on that same playing field. And then once I quit, it was just like, hey, dude, you're not half bad. Let's hang out here and there. And so we started hanging out, and now we're inseparable. Like last year season, I guarantee he was at my house every night shooting bows at night, at dark, till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so we just became real good friends. And then, of course, I got my adopted little brother that he stuck by me the whole time. He still drinks. I'll go to his house and, he'll throw back and I'll just hang out with him like, hey, you do you, man. And I'll just watch. It's cool.
Before, like when you said your little brother, when the way he was kind of pushed out of the military, when you were standing there at your house and you were talking about with the loaded gun and things like that, did seeking a nonprofit at that time cross your mind? Like I can go and try to find help like that.
To be honest with you, I didn't know that nonprofits were even out there like this, at that time. Once I got his bow in my possession and learned how to shoot it and everything, that's kind of what got me into the nonprofit world. I started reaching out to multiple organizations, and it was like, hey, basically I was writing them saying, hey, my little brother passed away. I inherited his bow. He never shot a whitetail or anything other than pigs with his bow. And so I was just like, I want to do something for him type of thing. So for the next, well, it still continues. Every new animal I shoot has to be with his bow. So that's why I brought his bow on the bear hunt and stuff when
Mm-hmm.
me and Josh went. Was unsuccessful there with a bow, but we still got one, and it kind of at that point, that's all that mattered. But that's how I started getting into the nonprofit. It was just reaching out, saying, "Hey, man, I want to go on a hunt for my little brother," type of thing.
There's a when you were just talking about, after the fact, after your brother passed away and then being the example, there's a short analogy that talks about an alcoholic father that raised two boys, right? And the two boys grow up and they both have families, and one's a raging alcoholic and beats his family, and the other one's this amazing dad who would never do anything like that. And they asked, the one that's the raging alcoholic, and his answer, that why are you like this, and he's like, well, look at my dad, look how I was raised, that's what I came from. Then they go to the other guy and they ask the same question. He's like, look how I was raised. Why would I ever do that to somebody else? And it's really just however you take those lessons in life and push forward with them is entirely on you. It's your decision to either follow the darkness or change the path. Like you said, you want to break that cycle. And that's exactly how you do it. And it can be tough. I got myself in trouble and had to ostracize myself a little bit away from alcohol and going out and my military, binge drinking lifestyle, party on the weekends and rage it up. You get in trouble and it costs you about 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll change your life real quick. But it does, man. It changes your circle, it changes your mentality. Like maybe I was wasting a lot of time. I still had fun, when I go out and hang out and party and stuff, but man, if I had put that energy into something else, something good, finding some of these organizations like the stuff you're involved with now, and like, man, I could have been a traveling professional bow hunter in my free time. You know what I mean? Like how many weekends did I just waste sleeping all day, and I'm not knocking anybody that drinks or anything like that. It's your choice. But um, now I know you do a lot of stuff with different organizations and we've talked about some of the aspirations you have down the road. How did I know you just started touching on the actual getting into it, reaching out to those organizations. When I met you, you were a staffer with an organization. So how'd you step into that?
So I kind of same thing. I reached out to VCO, Veterans Creed Outdoors, and same storyline. Hey, I'm so and so, just trying to get a bow hunt for my little brother's bow, type of thing. And I want to say Marty actually reached out to me first, and we talked on the phone and whatnot, and I guess he got good vibes from it. And so next person I talked to is Leo, and Leo was like, "Hey man, why don't you come on as a staffer? We can do this." At the time, I lived in Tanglewood, Texas, which is right outside of Lexington, and I had a house with 20 acres, and then the lady that we were buying the house from, she still owns like 75 acres right next door. And so I had permission to go hunt or whatever the case may be. So we were taking veterans out there and doing an annual dove hunt and remembrance of my little brother. We did that for 2 years before we moved away. And so that's kind of how I got involved with VCO. I still do a little bit of part-time work with them. I'm not like what I would call a full-time staffer, but I do still help out with one of the big ranches that they have out in. It's called. I call it Rabbit Run because that's what the name of it was until they changed it a couple months ago. But I can't remember the new name of the ranch, but I call it Rabbit Run. Uh, and so, I did a couple hunts out there this year with VCO and veterans taking out their kids and stuff going hunting. I have I have so much enjoyment with that. It's kind of the way I fill my cup. So I still want to continue that, but not necessarily as a full time staffer. I want to help kind of what you do, Josh. I want to help,
Yeah, when
a
you
bunch
can.
of them. Yeah, when I can.
Yeah. And I don't want to breeze over that before I lose it. What you just talked about, man, is the awesome natural progression that I'd love to see when people get involved with different organizations and stuff is you literally reached out to him for a hunt for you, to go get something with your brother's bow. And you went all the way through that process. And now you're leading people, helping them, helping veterans, helping their families. Like, dude, that's huge. Like it sounds like a short timeline of that window, but like, that's the point. You know what I mean? Like to progress to that next level. We call that the tribal elder is what elder warrior is what Tom calls it from the Freedom Alliance. So and that's really how you do it. You take those lessons and then you move forward and give that to other people and their families, and that's awesome. So you guys did youth hunts too, right? Did you do the youth hunts with Leo? I know Hodge is over there smiling, snickering. We mentioned Leo because
Dude, that's
he's
all
an
that man
animal,
does.
dude.
Dude, he says he flips tables and just yells at people. He is like he when we interviewed him, man, I was like, we popped up on the camera. I was like, this dude is he's a character from a
Looks like
movie.
ZZ Top.
Yeah, he's like an '80s action
He looks
villain or
like an old
something.
biker,
Yeah.
but
He's
they
amazing.
don't make
Shout
bikes
out
that
to Leo.
small.
We talked about it too, man, and it's like as you're a now entrepreneur, like you're working as a taxidermist, doing your own stuff, you're your own boss. Like, man, that's a lot of growth in a pretty short window. You know what I mean? And what I had told you, I know we talked about it offline, but it was, man, when you get the ability to be kind of where you are now, you might be better on the outside of an organization affecting multiple organizations. If that's what you want to do and whatnot, because you're in a good space to do it. Like, a lot of people, you have influence, and um, yeah, and it's cool to see, man. It's cool to see people grow like that. And we haven't known each other that long, but um, you've helped me, and um, seeing each other grow is pretty badass, and teaching me to shoot too. So, um,
Well, I know me and you talked about it. My end goal will eventually be having my own nonprofit. One of these
And you'll get
days.
there, dude.
Oh yeah,
100%. I could already tell. Like you're going to be a guy who just never quits. I think
yes,
that's the
sir.
thing about you though, that that natural progression that Josh is talking about. I think once you said it ain't going to happen to me, it unlocked a lot of things inside of you that you just didn't know you had at the time. I mean, a nonprofit's going to be easy for you, especially in the world, like Josh was saying, the influence that you have, man. I mean, you're going to meet so many great people, and I mean, just doing this, starting this business with Josh opens up a whole new network for me. And I listen to those stories. It's the stories that's the most powerful thing, Dustin. When somebody listens to this, there may be 100 people that hear it, and it only needs to hit one, and they're going to change 100 more lives. I
For
guarantee
sure.
it's going to happen just with this podcast.
so what's the kind of going to your thoughts? So, like, what's your goal for the nonprofit?
Well, so eventually, my wife and mother-in-law allotted to inherit some land down south over in like George West area, prime time whitetail hunting. And I would like to take that land, which is going to be about 300 acres, and
Ooh.
either high fence the whole piece of property or buy some of the family out and high fence the whole 1,000 acres. And start doing, exotic rams, axes, stuff like that for veterans and whatnot. I Up until the moment we actually get the land and can start making preparations, I haven't put a whole lot of, pen to paper type of thing. But I want to just be able to, bring not necessarily just one nonprofit out to hunt. Anybody that's has a nonprofit that wants to take veterans out or first responders or, whomever that needs that kind of relief. I would also like to touch a little bit on the families of suicide victims, I guess you
Mm,
could say, because
yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of suicide awareness prevention, but there's not a whole lot of, the aftermath.
aftermath. Yeah.
And I would like to kind of incorporate that a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah.
What do you think? I know that you've been on some hunts with some different people and youth hunts and stuff like that. What do you kind of get out of that? You know what I mean? I know you have kids too, so what kind of I know you're in the teaching aspect and all that stuff. Any cool experiences out doing hunts? And I know there's probably some funny stories and stuff, but maybe some not so funny stories too.
I think
He does
probably,
that because of me. He does it because of me.
I guess one of my best experiences was, out there at the Harris Ranch. Just as kids, my grandparents owned 400 acres, but on that county road, they knew everybody that lived down that road. So they either a distant relative or my grandparents just knew them very, very well. And so for us kids, it was like we lived on 400,000 acres, because we could just hop fences and just get lost for hours and hours and hours. And so going out there to the Harris Ranch or even to Idaho and just being able to walk for hours, that's for me, that's where it's at. It's just being out there in nature, enjoying the peace and quiet, literally watching birds. If that's all that comes out, I'm okay with it. It's kind of, I guess, in a way, the way I connect to my little brother. You know, um, it's just something we did as kids, and so going out there helps me just realize that he's still there. Because some people, may not believe it or not, but he talks to me when I'm out there. He does, whether it's an animal showing up at the right time, right place type of thing, or if it's just a red bird landing on a tree limb.
Hmm.
I've been told that that's a past relative, and so
I hear that same thing
we
all
just
the time.
we connect that way.
Yeah. What about like, have you done youth hunts out there? I know
No,
Leo had talked about it quite a bit, but
we did a couple youth hunts out there at Rabbit Run. We had with three individuals. with their kids come out. So the first one was a mom and a daughter, and then the other one was a daughter and a dad, and then a dad and a son. They came out there, and we didn't get this. I didn't personally sit with them in the stand because the stands are normally only big enough for 3 people, and the guide of the ranch goes with them. So I sat with one of their actual clients and his son. That he was not a veteran and or anything, but I sat with them and just to watch that young boy, probably 12, 13 years old, shoot his first buck was, you know, probably I probably was almost as happy as my kid shooting his first deer. It was this little dude just got amped and he jumped up out of his chair and he was like, "Yeah, yeah," and like just got so excited. And I'm like, "This is the hype man," And his dad's all laughing at me, and I'm like, "No, dude, like your son just got me cranked up. Like this is awesome." And so just experiencing that, it I guess in a way brings me joy too because I always try to get my little brother on one, and he just I don't know if the dude stank or just too loud or what, but like he couldn't kill a whitetail to save his life. Literally, if I put one on a leash in front of him, I don't know. And so it's just something I really enjoy to watch. Kids do that.
I think the outdoors in general, and I think we could say it probably every single episode is trying to get people to realize that, and we've talked kind of Texas heavy a little bit because a lot of the people we know are around here. The organizations we're branching out from are mainly here, but a lot of these organizations are United States wide, and there's plenty in the areas that these guys are in or girls are in around the United States. All you have to do is find one, and the memories are there, and through healing and stuff like that. I lost my mom, I lost my best friend, and one after another the last few years. It's just kind of these things happen, and having something like that to kind of lean into, to go put some good energy into other people and help fill your cup back up, especially when guys like Leo come around that know that your cup needs filled. I mean, dudes like that got energy to spare, man. He could dump all the, his cup's overflowing, into other people. And it's really good, man. That's some really good stuff. Hodge, what you got, man?
So you're talking the youth hunts. What about the nephew? What's transitioned up to this point with the nephew? Is he shooting? Is he shooting bows? What's he doing?
See, really, I honestly couldn't tell you. So my sister-in-law lived with me and my wife for about a year and 2 months after my little brother's passing. It got to the point where I don't want to sound rude or hateful or anything like this, but she wasn't doing anything. Like she just wanted to hang out around the house, and like we watched the kid, my nephew more than she did. It seemed like, and I get it. You're grieving, and whatnot, but I literally went to my wife and was like, "Hey, I feel like I got two wives. Like this is weird." Um, and it got to that point, so we had to separate for a little bit. We haven't spoken since she pretty much moved out of our house. That's mainly because at first it was like, "Oh, well, if you don't do what I want, then I'm going to take your nephew away from you." And I'm like, "Well, my parents used us kids as pawns when we were young, and I don't play that kind of nonsense." And then a couple months back, probably 6 to 8 months ago, I tried to reconnect that fire there, and had my wife reach out to her, and she was going to come down and see us and whatnot. And then she started the whole suicide talk, and I was just like, Rebecca, like I'm sorry, but I can't allow that back in my life. I've kicked it once, and I was like, but I can't have all that old memories coming back up. Not for me. And so I had to just separate again. And, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done because my nephew looks just like my little brother, except for the dude got brown hair instead of blonde and like a spitting image of him. And I would love to know him, but I also don't want her thinking that those generational curses that I'm trying to break are going to be allowed back in my life just because she wants to use them. And I can't do that.
I know that's probably hard for you, but taking out the youth and watching them kind of do their thing, it sounds like it excites you maybe
Yes,
one
sir.
day you can rekindle that relationship. What does it look like now that you went from like a staffer with Leo? What was the transition between that and what you're doing now? What did you do in between that? Or were you doing that concurrently?
I'm still Leo still technically considers me a full-time staffer. I only
Okay.
do a couple hunts a year. That's not because of anything that VCO Team Texas did. I didn't much care for our national vice president, and me and him had a couple harsh words. And I told Leo, like, look, dude, I got to step away, man. I can't be any part of the national BS because I feel like they're just babysitting us. Me, Leo, Marty, Jonathan, we'll all go out and we'll do some crazy, not necessarily crazy business deal, but we'll get all this stuff lined up, and then here comes national. Oh, y'all can't do it like that, or they just kind of try to regulate too much a little bit. I feel, and so
Sounds
I was
like a
just
bunch of
like,
fun sponges, Dustin. Fun sponges is what. No, I'm
exactly.
playing. So, what was the taxidermist business going on? Like, was it thriving then? Did you meet your partner? Like, how did all that take place?
So, I started. I actually started October of 2022 is when I officially opened my taxidermy shop. It's called Fly High Taxidermy. I have shut it down since because I was doing that and I was working for another gentleman over in Roger, Texas, just part time for him, and then kind of doing my own little thing. And I was getting, businesses through, VCO nonprofit, and then HHO was coming with a couple people here and there. Leo hooked me up with his preacher from his church, Real Life Ministry, there in Tomball, Texas. And I do all their African animals. So once I got kind of those, I was just like, I don't really need this part time gig anymore. And so I stopped with the part time, and I was full time for myself. And then one day I needed my little brother's bow worked on. And I went up to archery country in Austin, and I met a couple of the guys behind the shop and whatnot. And, they fixed the bow up perfectly. And I went on about my day. Well, couple, I don't know, 2, 3 months into the second season of bow hunting, I bow that bow almost fell out of the tree with me, and I was probably 25, 30 feet in the air. And so once I realized, hey, there's no replacing this bow, maybe I should go get my own. So I went back to archery country because again, these guys were just phenomenal people. And so went in there, and the first time I went in there, I talked to Tommy. The second time I went in there, Tank kind of hooked me up with a Hoyt RX-7. And then once I was getting all that set up, Tyler, the owner of Archery Country, saw that I had a taxidermy sticker on my truck, and he was like, "Hey, man, you do taxidermy work?" I was like, "Yes, sir." And we kind of talked a little bit. And he was like, "Well, are you looking for part time work or anything?" And I was like, "Well, possibly." And so we talked a little bit, and I started doing a little bit of part time work for Tyler through Animal Art Taxidermy, which is literally in the same parking lot. And so once that kind of went on, I think I was working for Tyler probably 6 months, 7 months, and he got new business partners for Archery Country, and it's public news now. So I'll just go ahead and say it. His new business partners are Evan Haster, the guy that owns Black Rifle Coffee, and none other than Joe Rogan. So when he got those business partners, their plans for Archery Country is to just completely explode. It's going to be huge. And so he was like, "Hey, man, I think maybe we're going to sunset the taxidermy shop. I'm not really sure. It's either that or you can, just kind of take over, but you don't have to necessarily do it here." Well, eventually it conspired into a, "Hey, why don't we just come business partners?" And I was like, "Well, Tyler, that sounds like an awesome idea, but I don't necessarily have the money to buy in, to this. This is a huge taxidermy shop compared to what I'm used to." And it was like, "Hey, no, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you do the footwork, that'll be your way to get your equity." And I was like, man, I was built for hard work. That's one thing the military taught me. One thing
That's a
my
golden ticket, son. That's what that is right there, boy.
exactly. And so I was like,
I
I'm
could
I'm
wash
built for
dishes in
that.
my way do it. Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
something you don't say no to.
no, not with, he has 19 years of experience in the taxidermy business, and I was like, why would I say no to that alone? Much less anything else. You have the archery shop right next door, which is always going to bring in business. And I was like, I literally told him I would be retarded to say no.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you would.
I think the yeah. I think you know, that whole equity part, man, like don't you feel like sometimes you may not be the smartest one in the room, but by God, the back's strong as hell. You can outwork anyone. That'll get you into a lot of places around here. And I'm gonna tell you from the smart standpoint, I'm not one of those either, just in case you didn't get it. But I'm dude,
He's pretty smart. Don't let him lie to you.
a strong back will get you in any door, brother. Any
Yeah.
door. And that's probably why you're so successful now.
I'm kind of leaning that way sometimes. The smarts definitely is not my cup of tea. That was more my little brother's. That dude was book smart like nobody could imagine, but dumber than a box of rocks when it came to common sense.
And I
Like,
imagine you're carrying around some sense, though, if they're going to offer you to be business partners and stuff. It's crazy how this world turns, right? Like one day you're just sitting here, and the very next day someone just ropes you into a conversation. It's quite like me and Josh. I actually interviewed him. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was transitioning out of another project I was working on, and the only thing I wanted to do was just highlight good people doing good things. And this is kind of where we folded that into this project, was the spotlight. We just wanted to highlight people that were out there just crushing it. And although you're going to sit there and say like, "Oh, well, I'm not successful or as successful as this next guy or the guys you named," uh, man, success is like it's a perspective. Gosh, he'll tell you like he just hit 400 flags. I guarantee you somebody has offered to like mass produce and help him get that on the map, but that's just what he likes, dude. That's success. And this is the type of stuff that I'm hoping that goes through the camera and captures people to like want to get to know Dustin. And next thing you know, they're walking in your shop and talking about, hey, this is what I want to do. And you're going to open up those doors to, if it ain't HHO, it's Leo. And you're talking about all these other things you have on your plate. It really does help people connect to those projects and those nonprofits as well. So I think it's awesome, man. Your platform, it's building, and I think you're going to be able to kind of springboard that into something for other people, like you're talking about that nonprofit. I think that's the in between for you right now.
yes, sir.
A lot of there's a lot of like grind season too. Like you have these periods of growth
Mm-hmm.
that you've hit. You get involved with these organizations. You're going through hard times. Getting through the grief process and then helping other people and growing. And like right now, I think you're in like grind season, man. You got good things on the horizon, and all that's asked of you is to work your damn ass off, and that's what you're good at. So, the sky's the limit. As far as like somebody kind of going through this process, going through the grief process, I know the aftermath piece is kind of where you want to focus your nonprofit. What kind of advice would you give to people that are kind of going through that right now, or could be going through that themselves?
um, I guess the one thing that I've always said about suicide, and it may, come off offensive or not, but I've always said that suicide, it doesn't kill the demons that person is fighting that commit suicide. It only passes them on. And so I feel like when my little brother, did what he did, his demons, they didn't go to the grave with him. They literally jumped onto my older brother's back, to my mom and my dad, to mine. How does, no offense, but how does my nephew feel one day when he grows up and he's like, "Hey man, like my dad killed himself." Like, how is that gonna make him feel? So I guess the best advice I could give you is, if that person couldn't beat their own demons by themselves, then why are you trying to do it by yourself? Reach out to somebody. Like, I tried for a very long time to do it by myself. It just wasn't happening. It wasn't going to happen for me. Once I found, people like Leo, HHO, um, my buddy Cam, he was a huge inspiration. Dakota, my adopted brother, he pulled me out of some crazy places too. Um, it's just, you got to find those people that aren't going to let you slack off, I guess you can say. And so you need to surround yourself with those people. If you're surrounding yourself with, the barflies, that's what you're going to have. You're going to be going down that dark road. But if you surround yourself with good people that aren't suicidal, that want to be able to support you, then you can get through anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you look at your scenario now, man, like the people you're surrounding yourself with now are, you know, captains of the industry that you're in. And man, the growth that you can even make from where you're at now to where you're going, and especially down the road with your own nonprofit and stuff like that. You know, the main one of the things you just said, you just reach out to somebody, you know what I mean? And literally the name of our podcast is the Outreach Project. And it's that's why, you know, the proactive aspect of, like, we have to be able to reach out. We have to be able to put that network out there and find something. And I think that's our entire goal, is pushing that network out to people and making it so easy to utilize that you don't have a choice. Like there should be no question that you have people to call. You have the Leos of the world out there, like on speed dial, that want to talk to you, you know, no matter who you are, and the Dustins of the world. You know, I talked to one guy today. Totally. Go ahead. You got some, Hodge?
If Leo don't talk enough, we can put Marty on.
Yeah. 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 We could get some talking on him, Marty.
Marty, give him a couple bankies and he will talk your whole ear off.
I talked to Tyler today from Hero to the Line, and he said you got a dog from them.
I do.
Can you talk a little bit about the dog?
So it's an English,
and how that kind of transpired to you, I guess.
It's an English lab, a British lab. He's a black lab. So me and my current wife actually went through a small little separation period, mainly because I told her it was either Lexington or me, basically. I had to get out of that town. I had to get away from, you know, my biological side of the family. And I knew that town was bringing us both down. It wasn't anything that, like, you know, she was there the night everything happened. Backtrack just a little bit. The night it happened, my oldest brother was holding my little brother in his arms when he actually pulled the trigger. And my oldest brother, his wife, my wife, and my little brother's wife all watched him die in front of us. I wasn't there when the trigger was pulled. They all were. I was the only one that wasn't. So, you know, that did something to all of us, not just me. That messed up my wife pretty hard too. So I pretty much told her, I was like, look, after he passed, I gave her 5 years. I was like, look, in 5 years, I'm gone. I'm not living in Lexington. I'm out of here. Well, 5 years came a lot sooner than what I expected. Mainly because I had already started working with animal art up in Austin, and I knew things were going good there. And so I just had to get out. It was either go back to East Texas, to Palestine, Texas, or somewhere where I could find pine trees. And it just happens to be that right down the road in Bastrop, Texas, they have a little village called Tahitian Village, and they have all the pine trees I can have in my world.
I was
So,
blown away when I saw where Justin lives. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm in like Arkansas or something right now. I was like, I've never seen pine trees in Texas. It's crazy.
Say, I can kick you around in Mississippi. I mean, I ain't nothing but swamps and pine trees where I'm from, but that's,
dude, there ain't none in San Antonio.
Good. Oh,
Not
yeah,
at all.
San Antonio. Ain't nothing but bad traffic in San Antonio, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
Golly.
That is true.
So that's kind of how I guess we got over in the Bastrop area. And then when we were separated, this I won this dog from putting my name in, and it was just, I guess, in a way, God's way of speaking to me, saying, hey, you need to take this dog. And at first, I was allotted a American Lab, and I was like, man, I don't really want American Lab. They're stubborn. They're a little bit harder to train. And the one I was going to get was going to be an absolute huge dog. Mike Evan got him. Thank goodness. Calls him Moose for a reason. Just a giant dog. And I'm like, man, I don't.
Mike's a big dude too.
Yeah. So fit him perfectly. Yeah. I'm like, I want a little bit smaller of a dog, please. And so I did a little bit of trading, and Mike got that dog and I got the black one instead. And I actually named him Zane Breaker of Silence, and with his AKC registered name, and then his call sign is Whisper. And I kind of did that to teach me to be more soft tone when talking to my wife or my kids, because, you know, I grew up from a family that dad was abusive mentally and physically. Mom was more of the mental game. So I was in that world. I didn't want to ever, have to. I never want to ever be called a woman beater or a child beater or anything like that. So I was just like, look, I need something that kind of reminds me of that, and so that's what this dog is for me. He is on a fast track to being a bird dog. He's one of the smartest dogs I've ever had in my whole life. He retrieves really well. I can actually tell him to go get his water bowl and he'll bring it to me. And I'm like, oh, look at you. I know what you want. And so smart dog, but I named him for that reason. And so it would be a reminder to me to watch my temper, to, you know, stay mellow, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I talked to those guys today. They're going to come on in March, so they provide trained labs, like very well trained labs to service members and first responders, I believe.
Tony got one.
Yeah, Tony's got one too.
He got the sibling to mine.
Oh, okay.
So
Man, you guys got like one big family.
yep.
You, Mike, Tony. That's good. Well, Dustin, I mean, is there anything that we missed that you wanted to bring up? I know you talked about the nonprofit and stuff down the road, but anything that we missed that you could think of?
No, sir. I think that was pretty much it.
Heck yeah. Hodge, what you got, man?
Dustin, I appreciate you coming on, man. This is great for us. We're trying something different than just having, the nonprofit on, and it's a great thing, but to have the story, as, the why or the how, I guess, depending on which perspective you're looking at, it's good to have these types of stories out there, man. Cause, like Josh said, we're trying to be, proactive with this type of stuff. Being reactive, it doesn't save anybody anymore. We talked about it today. Like, we go through all this training to mitigate all these things, and it's just not working. So we got to do something different. And we're hoping that this type of stuff will kind of resonate well with people. I hope other people are willing to let us kind of peer through, what it is that they lived in. I mean, the shit that you had to grow up in, dude, I don't wish that on no one, but I guess, you powering through it the way that you did it, it's going to impact someone, and you're not going to know it. But I just wanted to tell you thank you for it, because they might not be able to. But man, we really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. I will say definitely probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't much care to talk about my little brother. I think Josh knows that. Um, but I had a couple people tell me that, if I didn't come on and talk about it, then someone either thinking of suicide or someone that's in my shoes that has to deal with the aftermath, you know, what is it doing for them? Nothing if I'm not talking about it. So I guess that's my biggest why of wanting to come on and do this. Didn't think I was going to be episode 1, but who's counting?
And you had to stare at Josh. I mean, I have to
You're welcome.
warn everyone before they come on the show. Like, are you sure you're signing up for the right thing? But no, dude, I really appreciate it. You got, just being light, with the jokes and stuff like that. And, kind of parlaying that into your stories is just, I can tell you're a squared away dude. So, hopefully you'll come back on. Maybe a couple episodes down the road, we'll bring you in for a part 2, maybe.
Oh, yeah. And
hell yeah, Dustin.
You need to come down to Texas and go pig hunting. Me and you and Josh can all go. So
we got a whole list going. We got Harris Ranch too. We got to make a stop out there.
Yep.
But no, man. Listen, I know it's easy to breeze over. You're a worker bee, man. I know you work. He's up at like 4:30 every day going to the shop. But I think people need told about the great shit they're doing, and you're crushing it, man. And when it came to finding somebody, we didn't just throw you in here. You checked all the boxes, man. Prior veteran, real story, real hard work, entrepreneur, doing your own thing, family, helping people, changing other people's lives. And you're doing all these things, man. And when you surround yourself with the good people like you are, man, I think the sky's the limit, man. So I'm really curious to see what you have in store with all the great shit you're doing in the future. But we appreciate you. We appreciate your time being episode number 1 in the Spotlight series. And that's going to do it for us here at the Outreach Project podcast. And thanks, guys, for tuning in.
The Outreach Project. Oh, hey!